Welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions, your home for all things psycho. Today we're going to take a look at Pete Bagge's Other Lives. I think it's pronounced Pete Bagge. Man, if you don't know who Pete Bagge is, you need to go pick up some books by him. You need to get more educated on your independent comics cartoonists, my friends. So Pete Bagge, wow. So he ended up taking over. He started his work in Weirdo, which is Robert Crumb's indie comics magazine, and actually even ended up taking over as managing editor. And eventually came out with Neat Stuff and Hate, which are kind of like autobiographical books based on a character that is named Buddy Bradley, but it is him. It's Pete Bagge. So kind of starting out in his like experiences in Seattle, then in other areas, like in his like late adolescent, early adult lives. Totally fun. I mean, it's very you know, uh, auspicious that he got his start through Robert Crumb. He's very Robert Crumb esque in his delivery, but way more cartoony than Crumb's work. I really like it, but don't get fooled by the cartooniness because the concepts and the ideas can be quite serious. There's funny stuff, but then Pete Bagge will just throw some you know, some concepts in there that make you go, "Whoo, whoa, that's pretty intense, dude. That's pretty heavy." So this is a fairly recent work of his, sometime within the past 10 years, recent 10 years or so, back when Vertigo was a thing. I mean, we got accolades and quotes from Dan Klaus, Crumb, Gilbert Hernandez. I mean, geez, Dana Gold, writer producer of The Simpsons. I mean, heck yeah, and well deserved. So I recently just kind of read this on vacation, and I got through it pretty quickly. It's not it's not a huge cumbersome volume, but it's not what I expected either. So essentially, the main character is a kind of a neurotic, frustrated writer, and which very much looks like what Pete Bagge looks like. So there's still some these like Pete Bagge really likes to kind of introduce elements of himself into the story. It makes it all real. And he interacts with this fellow who claims to work for like the CIA or the NSA as like an intelligence gatherer, but he's obviously just this dork who like wears a kilt and lives with his mom, and he's like wanting to kind of do an expose on this dude, and as well as other people, to write about their separate lives they live on the internet, right? Like these alternate personalities. I mean, I absolutely love Pete Bagge's work. I love how real his environments feel. I love how cartoony his characters are as well. There's no angles to them at all whatsoever. They're very noodly in their formation, which I really like and enjoy. His environments can feel like just very fresh, but also seedy at the same time. They feel lived in. Um, so it's a ton of fun. He still got that kind of you know Seattle aesthetic, really that grunge aesthetic to his cartoons. The 90s is when he really kind of came into the forefront, I think. So that grunge Seattle scene was where he had his shtick. So it centers upon his girlfriend as well, and then a friend of theirs who goes online in this place called like Second World or whatever, which is kind of like a Minecraft sim virtual reality kind of world. And they all start kind of becoming involved in trying to figure out who this kilt dude is, and as well as you know going through this guy's like neuroses of trying to get his writing off the ground and figuring all this out. His girlfriend and other friend here, his mustache friend, end up kind of taking a journey into this like second world environment, and start, you know, forming a relationship there. At the same time, they find out this dude that wears this kilt was an old friend of theirs in college. And it gets really crazy. At first, for the most of the book, you just kind of see all this stuff develop. It's fun. There's just like every scene, there's just fun engagement with all of the characters. You get to kind of like see how their secondary characters in this like second world environment develop and grow. And this was like this came out during the time when the internet was really starting to blow up. This guy who lives with his mom, he actually lives in like her garage or whatever. It's really fun to see his interactions with him develop, because this guy I mean, talk about neuroses. I mean, he's just all over the place. He's wears a Superman shirt with a kilt. He's just obviously one of those stinker nerds who doesn't really bathe much, doesn't groom himself well, but still claims to work for the NSA. And so this, he doesn't really believe him. And all of this stuff ends up kind of tying together. And how it ends, maybe I should leave it to audiences because to go and read it, because it really does end with a twist. It kind of blew me away. Long story short, the relationship really gets constrained because the main character, the writer guy, we find out starts revealing all of these things to his girlfriend, his fiance, that he never shared before. And he keeps having these, dreams that are basically retellings. That's like his second world, really, is all these dreams, his other life. But they are exposing all these things in his life that he's done wrong and that he is afraid of in terms of his integrity, and keeps waking up to tell her, and she's just like, my God, I thought you had already told me everything, and like, what the hell? And it keeps growing, this tension between the two of them. At the same time, she's forming this relationship with one of his buddies online. And it's something about this interaction he has with this kilt wearing dude that claims to work for the NSA that's like spawning all this, that's bringing all this up. And I think it's because he feels like that this guy who's wearing the kilt is obviously a fraud. But he feels like he's a fraud himself, because what we find out is that he actually has lifted articles from the internet. Actually, he only lifted one article from that kilt dude himself from back in the day. He didn't realize that he knew him from back in the day, and plagiarized the article and ended up winning an award out of it, and that's how it spawned his whole career. So he feels horrifically guilty. So at the same time, his girlfriend is developing this relationship with this other friend online, and things just kind of like spiral out of control. But you also see all of their relationships with other families develop. It feels very real. It feels like this could be a movie. It feels like these relationships are all based on actual relationships, and they're also hilariously funny. You just still get all of these like cartoony elements. There's never a moment that I'm bored with Pete Bagge. There's never a moment when I'm not waiting to see what's going to happen next. And it's just normal people's lives. Boy, though, does it end with like a huge element at the end, a huge twist. I don't really want to give it away for those that want to go buy it because it's still available. But man, I ended up I was reading it in the middle of the night, and my wife heard me go, "What the fuck?" Just like, "Holy shit!" And she was like, "What?" And just it just surprised me. It was just like, "Wow, dude!" Like crazy. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I highly recommend any of Pete Bagge's work, but this one too is just a succinct story in and of itself. So if you don't want to like have to dive into all the hate stuff or neat stuff and all the other stuff that he has, um, Other Lives is actually a pretty simple read, easy to get through, um, and a really good introduction to his style and his flow, with a little added dramatic twist to it. It's not as online nerdy as you think. That's just the template for the story of this like virtual sim world, but it's really like all about the lives that we all keep inside of ourselves, the masks that we have in our real lives. And like online virtual reality is really just a tool or a vehicle for that to be expressed, but that's also expressed in other ways that are highly destructive to a human being's, you know, conscious world, in real life. So very interesting. I mean, very well put together, very well written. This isn't just a slap together book. So kudos to Pete Bagge. I highly enjoyed this work. So go pick it up, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Really appreciate everyone's time. Keep it safe out there and keep it psycho.